With a million podcasts out there, we're grateful you chose Toilets to Titles. We give fantasy football advice to get your crap team to the finals. From Nate's cousin Eddie persona and his unapologetic love for Chubb and Justin's hatred for Chris Ballard, our show is as good as a belly rub. Mark is the best of the NFC West, putting down Penguin Pete with his love for the Rams. Grab a whiskey or a beer, we're glad you're here. Welcome to the family, but plan for gibberish and rambling. We have recent news and games of the week. We talk PPR and weekly streams. Start 'em and sit 'em, keep 'em or quit 'em. Hit the like and sub buttons for the fellas. Got any suggestions, just tell us.
All right, welcome back everybody to Toilets to Titles. My name is Justin Stevens, and we are here for episode 244. This is the Week 3 NFL preview and a very special little extra Frank bonus episode mixed in with it as we give away the heroes for the Frankenstank Listener League. So Mark, we have a big show. We've got a lot planned in a little short period of time here. We're gonna be giving away 19 heroes for the Frankenstank. Do you want to tell the people a little bit about what the heroes are all about?
Yeah, so unfortunately, in Frank, I went 1-1. It's about the worst thing you can do in Frankenstein. You either go 2-0 or you go 0-2. Because if you go 0-2, you get a hero card. The hero card slots in as a player for a position of your choice, and depending on the luck of the draw, there's different values of the hero. So it can be pretty beneficial for those teams that started out slow in Frankenstein.
And the heroes are based off of movie heroes. So like Helen Ripley from Alien or Clarice Starling from Silence of the Lambs, that sort of thing. Because the Frankenstank League has monster cards that you can use to annihilate your opponents. And so that's where the heroes come in to kind of help counteract that. We got a few people here in the chat. We got David Genesis. We got George. And, of course, our man Wyatt is in the house. So, Mark, did you start off 1-0 or start off 0-1?
I started off 1-0, yeah. My plan was to play the first week out, and if I won, go for 2-0. If not, go for 0-2. I won, but then my guys crapped out in week 2, and Hero J over Chris over at the Fantasy Powers League, that's who I played. He ended up taking me out this week.
Gotcha. I went the the same route that George did. I tanked on purpose. I went 0-2, and I almost messed up and won in week 1, which would have caused me to change that whole strategy, obviously. But kind of glad that I did lose, because I would have lost in the week 2 anyway and lost a key player because I would have been trying to go for the win at that point. So I'm hoping this works out well for me. We're going to be filtering in the heroes as we go along with the episode. First of all, guys, please make sure you check out our website, toiletstotitles.com. That's where we drop all of our articles, all of our episodes. We had off-season rankings and stuff, but obviously that stuff is out the window now because we're actually in season. While we're in season, it's always good to keep up with us on our Discord channel. We have several channels for several different things in the Discord. Reach out to me at JustinFF_ or at Toilets to Titles on Twitter, and we will get you sent an invite for that. The other Twitter handles you want to follow are my man right here, Mark, and that is at MT Simon. And then Nate, who couldn't be with us tonight because he got called into work at the last minute, at Nate_Dirt19 over on the X. No guest this week, but we almost had George. George said he was going to come on. He was excited about getting his Frank card. But then he ended up getting ice cream instead. So I can't blame you.
Well, that's not exactly true. I did invite another guest on. I kept this one a little secret, but he wanted to come on. He really hates heroes and he hates losers. So he wanted to come on and say a couple things here. Yeah.
Oh, nice. 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 Well, thank you, Chucky, for making an appearance. And your team's namesake is actually going to be on here as well, because he also went 0-2, I believe. I'm almost positive he's
I think he
Chucky's
did.
last stand will be on here. And I've got something else making a little bit of an appearance here. This is to honor the fact that our teams both crapped the bed this week. You at one of the Airbnbs had left a little gift behind that I caught when we were unpacking. So
Okay.
I appreciate this is a shot on you, Mark. So we appreciate you. Thank you very much. But let's see. Shane says Hero almost saved me last year, but wasn't quite enough. Rich is in the house now. Thought that was Nate first. Yeah. So here's the thing. It almost saved you last year, Shane, but there was a little bit of a tweak to the rules, which kind of enticed me even more to want to try this and go for the hero for the first time ever. And that is at the last regular season game, if you don't already have a playoff spot locked in, all you have to do is be the top scorer in your division for that week of all the teams that's not already in the playoffs, and you get in the playoffs. So in my mind, if I've got the hero and I was able to keep most of my studs through the gauntlet of losing on purpose for 2 weeks, then maybe that'll be enough to at least get me to that point so I can try to sneak into the play. It gives you one extra way to sneak into the playoffs after starting 0-2, which is nice. It did kind of look like Jason a little bit, but it also looked a lot like the guy whose name is Chucky in our league, because he's that short brother-in-law of mine, Sam, that was at Canton. So, all right, guys, we need to get into this. So let's jump right to it. The very first giveaways for the heroes that we're going to do is for the Frankenstank division. So actually, I need to share my screen here. And as you'll notice, I've got the heroes brought up here in the background, or I have a hero here. That is the Helen Ripley that we had discussed from Alien, or Ellen Ripley. Sorry. Let's see. From the Frank division, again, you had to start off 0-2, and the Bioraptors. Our man Beryl Joffrey at FF_medicine cabinet. And Mark, if you would, as I'm doing these, if you could type in the hero that they got into the doc for me.
Okay.
I know Shane is doing all the work behind the scenes for this on the website and stuff, or on the MFL site. So we appreciate you so much, Shane, especially me. This has taken a huge load off of my plate. So thank you very much for that. But I like to shuffle 3 times. And
so why don't we tell them what the
Yeah.
lowest and the highest are? I forget the numbers.
Gotcha. Okay, so let's see. Now that I've already shuffled it, okay. So the highest amount is 35 points, and these heroes are Mike Jernigan, Anthony Rayner, Chris Hine, we know him as Iceman, and Elliot Levin. They are the 4 previous winners of the Frankenstank. So yeah, they're not heroes in movies, but they really should be, because they're kind of badass because they won the Frank. So they get to be heroes. So their names could potentially be drawn tonight to be on somebody's fantasy football roster and score them 35 points every single week, no matter what, because they're worth 35 points. Then there's 2 more also worth 35. That's Sarah Connor, and then Sarah Connor from Terminator, and Tangina Barons from Poltergeist. After that, it goes down all the way down to 25 points. Lorraine Warren from The Conjuring is worth 25 points. There's only one that's worth 25 points, and then there's those 6 that are worth 35, and everything in between just kind of fluctuates. But it kind of goes. There's fewer as you go down to the 25 points, but altogether there are 41 possible heroes, and we have 19 that'll be drawn tonight.
But even at only 25, that's a pretty significant amount to guarantee in your roster every single week.
Yes. Yeah, and then you get to choose. Once you get this hero, you get to choose what position you want them to be at. Just let Shane know in the MFL group chat that he's already, or message board chat, that he's already started. Many of you have already commented on it. I was kind of waiting to see how many points they were worth to determine if what position I want to put them at. But as long as we know by Thursday, well, really, as long as we know in time for Shane to put them on your roster by kickoff Sunday. Because what I've done, you have to have this hero in your roster by 1 p.m. on Sunday afternoon Eastern Standard Time every single week for them to be in your starting lineup. If you don't have them in your starting lineup by then they're on your bench. So in years past, people haven't gotten around to doing their heroes right out the gate the first week. We'll let you wait until the second, third, fourth week or whatever to add the hero if you want, if you're not getting around to it. But it won't be eligible for that week until you actually get a hold of Shane and he has time to put them on your roster. But once they're on your roster, you don't have to do that every week. Once they're on the roster, they're yours and you keep them. So,
and refresh our memories. Do these last through the playoffs or only regular season?
I'll have to double check on that. I think it was just regular season. Let's see. This is great for the audio here.
Sorry.
Yeah, I don't really remember. I'll have to get through that. Get through the rules on that later, but we need to get rolling with the show, dude. And also you're kind of holding up the whole, excitement here. I want to give Beryl this hero. So stop asking questions. Here you go, Beryl.
This is Bioraptors or no?
Bioraptors, Mr. Beryl, Beryl Joffrey.
Oh. All right, they're the same.
Right off. Oh, no. Okay. So he gets Steve Andrews from the Blob. He was the hero from the original Blob. He gets 27 points for Steve Andrews every single week in his starting lineup. So next we have The Thing. So The Thing is Elliot Levin, last year's champion of the Frankenstank. So he's obviously gone a different route and decided to go for the hero here instead of running roughshod on us all season like he did last year. His hero is Ash Williams from the Evil Dead. So one of the original heroes from last year. 32 points for Ash Williams for Elliot every single week. And then the last one is our man Porg. He's having a rough go of it right now because of the whole going 0-2, and he's lost some key players. So we're hoping for Porg here to it's Beelzebub is his team name, but Porg, here you go, buddy. We're hoping for a good one for you.
Ooh, there we go.
And you did get one of the good ones. You got the top one, Sarah Connor from the Terminator. Looks like somebody spelled Terminator incorrectly, but that's 35 points every single week for you, Mr. Porg, at whatever position. And this cannot be stolen. This hero cannot be stolen. All right. Let's see. So let's jump into a little bit of first hit that like and subscribe button for us. Recent injuries, man, there were so many injuries. We tried to narrow it down as much as we could. I'm just going to kind of run through these real quick, and if there's anything major you want to hit on, just stop me. First off, Nick Chubb is expected to be back right around week 5. As of right now, that's his expected return. Amon-Ra St. Brown, he left late in the game in week 2 against Tampa Bay and is now questionable with a lower leg injury for week 3 against the Cardinals. Joe Mixon injured his ankle, and Dameon Pierce both questionable for week 4 against the Vikings. Evan Ingram injured his hamstring in warmups, missed week 2, and is questionable now for week 3 against the Bills. Tank Bigsby, an ugly shoulder injury, questionable for week 3 against the Bills. Isaiah Pacheco, fractured right fibula, undergoing surgery, and will miss at least 6 weeks. That one's rough because the Chiefs actually finally had a good running back with a good running game for the first time in a few years. So Hollywood Brown is now expected to miss nearly the entire regular season. I believe it was week 18 is his expected return at this point. Justin Herbert, lower leg injury, x-rays negative. He went out and came back in, made a nice run in week 2 against the Panthers after the injury, but now is being considered questionable for week 3 against the Steelers. Mark has a full list on his phone. No need to clutter the doc. He said that about what we're about to say, and that is all of the Rams.
Yeah, I'll just go through this real quick. Cooper Kupp, IR. Puka Nacua, IR. Tyler Higbee on the pup list. Joe Noteboom, offensive tackle, IR. KT Levison, IR. Connor McDermott, IR. Steve Avila, IR. Jonah Jackson, IR possible. Laurel Murchison, IR. Darius Williams, IR. Darian Kendrick, IR. John Johnson, IR. Everybody's on IR on our damn team. You know, on Twitter, when you have a list and you have to click the button that says see more to see the rest of the tweet, that's how many players are on this damn list.
All right. Let's see. Tua Tagovailoa, another concussion. They say the third. We obviously all know that it's the fourth. I don't care what George says. That back spasm was a concussion. But the Dolphins are sending him to IR for at least 4 weeks, most likely. I don't think that this was confirmed yet by the time we hit record, but I did hear rumors that they're highly considering it so that he can have some time to talk with the neurologist and really get a better game plan for his near and distant future. So obviously hoping for the best for him. Justin Jefferson, questionable with a quad injury for week 3 against the Texans. TJ Hawkinson expected to be back as possibly as soon as week 5. Taysom Hill, chest injury, questionable for week 3. Actually went to the hospital, but it looks like he avoided anything major, but now questionable against the Eagles. Speaking of the Eagles, A.J. Brown said himself that he's most likely a couple more weeks already listed as doubtful for week 3 against the Saints. Deebo Samuel is doubtful for week 3 and looks to be headed to a longer period of rest, like an IR stint potentially due to a calf injury sustained in week 2 against the Vikings. CMC currently estimated to return by right around week 7. Rashad White, questionable for week 3 against the Broncos. Tyjae Spears, questionable for week 3 against the Packers. Yeah, that's the whole super long list of all the injuries that happened this week. Many of those can and most likely will affect some of your fantasy outcomes. So, yeah, what do you think of that?
And we chopped a lot of people who are still questionable from prior weeks off of that list. There's plenty more. It's ridiculous. And we're only 2 weeks in the fantasy season.
Right. Let's see. Why don't you go ahead and do the recent news too? Because I'm still trying to find out if these heroes are throughout the playoffs or not.
Sorry. All right. So we got some other news. One of the most recent things, Bryce Young was benched in favor of Andy, the Red Rifle Dalton. I got a lot of questions about this. Like, what I don't understand is I get Bryce has been awful, absolutely awful. But why did they not play him a single snap in the preseason? Why are they benching him now when you're not going anywhere? If you're done with Bryce, let him lose out the rest of the season, get a better draft pick, and make your decision then. I don't understand what they're doing. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
I feel like maybe there's a chance that they're trying to get anything they can from him in some sort of a trade, and they know that the more he's on the field, the less the value.
I guess, yeah. Next piece of news, Kareem Hunt has signed to the Chiefs practice squad. What do you think? What do you think about this? Do you think he's elevated this week and he's on the roster for week 3?
No, I don't think so. Kareem Hunt, no. You and I talked on the phone earlier about another player. Jamar Chase, talking about how even a world-class athlete like Jamar Chase still takes time to really get his playing feet back under him, and he just missed, camp. Like, how long has it been for Kareem Hunt? I mean, I know you're talking like he just gets on the field, he just has a few snaps, whatever. But I also I'm kind of okay-ish with the running back situation in KC, but I'm also really I have high hopes for Steele, Carson Steele. So I know he's listed as a fullback. I know that he's a bigger guy and a little bit slower than your typical running back, but big fan of his. So we're hoping the best for him here at Toilets to Titles. But I think they have enough there that they can wait. Why risk having Kareem Hunt come back too early, pulling a hamstring? He's not game ready, whatever, when he's supposed to be the guy that you're bringing in to help add depth. So probably not this week. I'm thinking maybe week 4, week 5.
I'm just wondering from a pure depth standpoint if they bring him up on the roster, because I mean, let's say one of those guys, like let's say Steele gets hurt in the game, they're down to Samaje Perine and that's it. Like nobody else to give any carries to, right?
Yeah, because Clyde Edwards-Helaire's out for at least a couple more weeks.
Yeah. I think it was a mental health issue that they put him that he's out for. So I mean,
yeah, but one thing
going to be back.
One thing to consider, though, you got Rice, you got Worthy, you got Watson, who's super fast. Sky Moore can still run the football some. So, like, they have super fast guys that they can use to run. And also, it's the Chiefs. It's Pat Mahomes. Short passes are better than a run in that offense. So I think we're going to see a whole lot of that and a whole lot of dink and dunk and a whole lot of those trick plays and jet sweeps and a lot of sort of stuff like that to help. Let's see, heroes are used in playoffs last year. And that's what I was about to say, Shane. I was going to say, since it's not in the rules because I couldn't find it, I probably accidentally deleted it whenever I added all the heroes in there. I was just going to go back to whatever we did last year. So thank you very much for that, Shane. So since
Shane, you saved the day.
Every time, he's a hero. He's a hero himself. I should have made him a hero. Damn it! All right. So since they were in the playoffs last year, they'll be in the playoffs this year as well. So thank you very much, and David, thank you as well for trying to look into that for us as well. So don't pick the Rams over the 49ers this week.
No, you pick them over them every single week. It doesn't matter.
All right. Let's see. What else do we got? Justin Fields preparing to start again for the Steelers after leading them to this ferocious 2-0 record.
But did you hear the comment Tomlin made when he said that?
What's that?
He said,
"No, I did not."
He said, "We're preparing for Fields to be our starting quarterback for week 3, assuming if Russell Wilson isn't ready to go."
Okay.
So he threw that in there, which leads me to believe that as soon as Russell's ready, he's going to be back to being their guy.
That's interesting to me. Yeah. I mean, Fields hasn't really been impressing like I thought he would, but he also hasn't played bad like I think a lot of other people thought he would. He's kind of just a guy at this point, and I think it's what we're going to get out of Wilson.
Yeah, I thought it was weird. I didn't think it was necessary for him to make that comment. So the fact that he did was just stuck out.
All right. Well, speaking of weird times to talk about different things, patreon.com/toilets and titles. Come and support us at just about any price range, any possible budget out there. We got you. Shane's saying that Russ will start week 4. We are now going to give away the heroes to the creature from the staff bathroom division. First one up is a new player to Frank. His name is Derek Napolitano. Derek Napolitano. His team name is the Dynasty Dex Demon Derek. So he kept with the monster theme because he's got the demon in there, but he also gives a plug to his own show every single time you go onto the MFL site to take a look at the team. So Dynasty Dex, go check him out. So let's see who Derek gets here as a hero. One of the big ones, the 35 pointers are already off the board. Don't want to see too many of those go before I'm up. Uncle Red from Silver Bullet. So that's a fun little Stephen King movie. And Uncle Red from the Silver Bullet is the hero at 31 points every single week for you, Derek. Who do we got next?
Swamp Gator, Peter Harriet.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Peter Harriet. And that's you can find him at PHKH Gator. And his hero is personal favorite, Tommy Jarvis, worth 33 points from Friday the 13th. Obviously, there's a lot of heroes from Friday the 13th, but Tommy Jarvis is one of the few that was in more than one movie of Friday the 13th. So he got to be a hero in one of them, and then he got to die in one of them. So here's to you, Tommy Jarvis. Let's see. Next, we've got Leo's Loch Ness Monsters. This is Leo Navarro, another first-time Frank player. Oh, another big one. Mike, fantasy free agent, Jernigan. So Mike Jernigan was, I believe, year number 1, the first ever Frankenstank Listener League winner. That was back when we only had one division and it was 14 teams. So 35 points. He is forever etched into the annals of Frank. Yeah, I know. I said it. I said what I said. All right. Let's see. Next, we have the game of the week. All right. Game of the week is always fun stuff. So, unless you have a week like Mark and I had last week. Mark, I thought that your Rams were going to play a lot better than they did, and I thought that the Cardinals were going to play a lot worse than they did. I thought it was going to be a good close divisional matchup. I chose the Rams at the Cardinals, and it was a 31-point difference. Not at all a close game. So that 31 points puts me at 38 on the season now. That took me from, I believe, a close second to you down to last by a considerable margin. Who did you have last week?
I had the Bills versus the Dolphins, obviously, with Tua's injury. And, it just wasn't close. It was a 21-point game. Brought me down quite a bit, too, and down to 27. I had a good first week. Not so much this week.
Yeah, it was a pretty disappointing Thursday night football game for anybody other than Bills fans. Let's see. Nate chose the Bears and the Texans. He had the closest game of the week at a 6-point differential, and that actually was a really good game. So, and we made him pick last, and we kind of felt like he got stuck with what was left, but it pulled him into the lead. He has 22 points overall on the season now. This week, my game of the week, again, I got to choose first, luckily. So I didn't give you guys the opportunity to choose first because I saw the Ravens and the Cowboys on there and I wanted it. So I took it. That is a 4:25 game on Sunday. Ravens and Cowboys. I think that the Ravens are the better team. I think the Cowboys play up when they're playing good teams and they play down when they're playing bad teams. I think that there's an opportunity here to see a whole lot of offense. So yeah, that's my game of the week. What say you, Mark?
So my game of the week isn't necessarily going to be a great game, but it's going to be a close game. It's the Chargers versus the Steelers, both two surprisingly 2-0 teams. Both have good defenses. I think it'll be a close game, probably about a field goal difference.
And then we've got the Texans and Texans at the Vikings for Nate. So that's another good one. I almost had my background be Sam Darnold again because I was the guy that kept saying all offseason that if he was given the start at the beginning, he'd hold it. Look how good he looked against his revenge game against the 49ers, saying, "Hey, how dare you cut your backup quarterback?" But yeah. So kudos to you, Sam Darnold. But that is Nate's game of the week. And then we have upsets of the week. Not a lot here that I liked again, just like last week. I went with the Packers this week. The Packers are getting 3 points. to the Titans as the resident Will Levis believer on the squad here. I think that's absolutely whack that the Packers are getting 3 points. I feel like they should probably be the favorites in this game because if Will Levis doesn't get it together this week against Malik Willis's revenge game here, then I think I'm probably going to be completely out on Will Levis. Even I'm almost done and over with, but yeah. So, what do you got for your upset of the week?
My upset of the week, Miami Dolphins over the Seattle Seagulls. Seattle has been sneaking by bad football teams to start the season 2-0. 26-20 over the Broncos and 23-20 in overtime against the Patriots. Now, I know the Dolphins just lost Tua, but they have plenty of firepower still to get by the Seahawks with whether they go with Skyler or newly signed Snoop Huntley. And hear me out. I don't want to speculate on if Tua is going to come back, if he's not going to come back or whatever. But if he does, they have a sneaky week scheduled the next couple of weeks that they could come out not looking too bad. They have the Seahawks this week, Titans the following week, Patriots after that, and then a bye followed by the Colts.
I don't know about this comment here, Larry. So Larry says Willis is the same quarterback as Lamar Jackson, but with less turnovers. I would say he's also like Lamar Jackson, but with a lot less talent. And I would say that banged up Colts defense made him look a hell of a lot better than he really is. But yeah, no. We'll see. But obviously, this is a guy that's not huge on Lamar Jackson, I feel. Wyatt, Miami ain't winning. That's what Rich is saying. They're calling you out on this one. But why are you sleeping on Metcalf? Look at that. They're coming at you, Mark. We're gonna have to get back at him in the Discord later on. But Nate is going with the Bears. The Bears are getting are getting 1.5. So he says now or never for the Super Bowl champion Bears and Hall of Fame quarterback Caleb Williams. Of course, he's being facetious because he is a Packers fan and he hates all the Bears talk. He says if they can't cover against a terrible Colts defense, sorry, Justin, don't apologize. I've got my rant coming later on these damn Colts. Then I'm not sure when they'll score points. The Colts had given up 474 yards on the ground through 2 games. The Bears have a miserable offensive line, so the chances of either succeeding are low. I doubt Shane Waldron has watched any of the Colts games this year, so he says he should run the ball, but we'll see. Yeah. I'm gonna save my rant on that one for a little bit later. I'm trying to hold it back, but right now I'm gonna pick up our mood a little bit, and we're gonna give away the 3 heroes that are going to the Phantom of the Porta Potty division. The first of which is going to the Chucky guy that we talked about earlier. Chucky's last stand is my brother-in-law, Sam Schultz. He is going to get a hero here. All right, Chucky, spin that wheel.
We gotta see who.
You got your wish. You're mine now, doll. Now sit back and learn from the master.
All right.
And
so he gets Ellison Oswald from Sinister. So I hear Chucky dropping some F-bombs in the background there. So let's. I really don't want to get flagged from a doll. So Ellison Oswald from Sinister. That one is going to Sam Schultz. Silent Wraith Assassins. That's our guy Trosgith, who is at Trosgith on Twitter. He is in our Discord pretty regularly. Let's see. He started off 0-2 as well, and his hero is going to be Veronica Quaith from The Fly. I'll make sure that you spell that one in there.
30 points.
All right. Oh, I didn't see.
I think it's a 30.
Okay, I'll just highlight that one. I'll double check it later. And then our man George Reed, who couldn't make it on tonight but wanted to be on for his wheel spin, is at George Reed FF. He is the Praxa. For those of you that don't know, that monster is a monster that only exists in the ocean. So it's not really that dangerous to mankind, but whatever. But it is very powerful, very, very damaging. So anyway, we're going to shuffle that 3 times, and George gets a good one. Nancy Thompson. That's from A Nightmare on Elm Street. Again, she was one of the few heroes. I think she had three or four episodes where she was a hero on A Nightmare on Elm Street. So 34 points for George every week. Start 'em or sit 'em. All right, so the start 'em or sit 'em. Here's the rules. Here's the qualifying rules on this. We are going to choose guys that are outside of the top 12 at quarterback, outside the top 24 at running back or wide receiver, and outside the top 12 at tight end or worse, to be guys that we would start this week. Now, as we get through the season, that's going to start to become a little bit more difficult. We still have some easier ones now because guys are off to slow starts, etc. So, and then after that, after we say the guy that we're going to be starting this week, we're also going to tell you who we would bench if we had to choose one that's in the top 12 at quarterback, in the top 30 at running back, top 30 at wide receiver, and the top 12 at tight end, that we would bench if we had, if like, let's say we had a bunch of good quarterbacks and we had to choose one of these guys to bench. So guys that we're tempering expectations on. So I'll kick this off for this week. I've got quarterback Brock Purdy. He's currently the quarterback 23. He's facing the Rams in their third worst defense against fantasy quarterbacks on the road, and a divisional game without Debo, but I still ain't scared. I'm going to go with Brock Purdy as my outside-in guy that's going to have a top 12 finish at quarterback. And I'm going to bench Jalen Hurts. Again, this doesn't mean we're actually benching him. It means we're going to temper expectations from guys that are in the top 12. He's currently the QB 5 on the season. We've seen it with Hurts. We know that when you can get to him, you can rattle him, and he can get flustered. The Eagles are looking to be a form of what they were at the end of the season last year, based off of what we saw. We've seen so far in this short season. The Saints are playing out of their minds right now, and they do have that ability to get to Hurts. So I think that there's a chance that we see a little bit shaken Hurts this week. So if I've got another really good quarterback and I've got to choose between the two of them, I'm going to bench Hurts. At running back, I'm starting DeAndre Swift. He's currently the RB 39. He has not looked good. He's proven that he needs his O-line to outplay the D-line for him to actually succeed, and that's what he's had for most of his career. But now he has a really bad offensive line for the Bears. But this Colts defense is absolutely depleted, and especially now that the defensive line has lost defensive tackle DeForest Buckner to IR with his back injury. Plus, the key here for the Colts to actually win this game is to stack the box, to stop the run, to force Caleb Williams to beat you with his arm. It's the same damn recipe for success that we would have had against the Packers. So they clearly aren't going to do shit about it. They're clearly just going to let Caleb Williams do whatever the hell he wants back there. They're clearly going to not stack the box against DeAndre Swift, and he's going to get 150 yards in the first half. Like, this is like the fourth year in a row that I've been screaming this from the rooftops. This Colts team is built to run the damn ball. Let's run the damn ball, and let's stack the box, and let's play defense on their running backs. You're going to win most of your games that way with this team, the way that it's stacked, the way that it's built up. And it's proven time and time again because they wait until halfway through the third quarter to start stacking the box and start running the ball. And lo and behold, we start making comebacks. Or sometimes they'll start the game that way. Sometimes they will start it off the way that they're supposed to, and they'll start off with a big lead. And then they start throwing the ball with Anthony freaking Richardson, one of the most inaccurate quarterbacks in the history of the NFL. What the hell? So yeah, I'm on my soapbox here a little bit, and maybe I'm starting DeAndre Swift because I'm spiteful on my Colts. But I'm telling you, DeAndre Swift is going to finally get a game this year where he's going to look like he's going to bounce back, and then he's going to have a higher trade value and trade him away because he doesn't get to play the Colts every single week. Then I'm going to bench Aaron Jones, currently the RB19 on the season. They play the Texans, who they're stout against the run so far this season, and they will be playing in the game where both sides will likely be throwing the ball all over the place, considering the running back injuries that we also have there in Houston. So, in my mind, this is going to be a shootout. Bet the over. I don't even know what the over is, but bet the over. And I think the shootout's going to be more in the passing game. So maybe Aaron Jones gets into the end zone here and there. But again, I got to choose somebody in that top 30 that I'm tempering expectations on. And because of the passing game, I'm going to temper the expectations on Aaron Jones just a bit. Wide receivers. I'm going to start Amon-Ra St. Brown because this is like the last chance I'm going to get to actually cheat with him. He's still currently wide receiver 35 overall, so he does still qualify. He faces the Cardinals this week, who are 24th in the league against wide receivers. The Sun God bounced back in week 2, and like I said, sadly, this is the last week I'll actually be able to use him because he's going to be locked into that top level, that top 30 moving forward. I'm going to bench Allen Lazard, currently the wide receiver 21 overall. He came back down to earth last week after a crazy week 1 where he had a ton of points in garbage time, on top of the one good touchdown that he did have from Rodgers a little bit earlier in the game. But otherwise, Lazard is back to where we thought Lazard would be. Even with the great matchup against New England, I still don't anticipate double-digit PPR points from Allen Lazard this week. Tight end, again, starting Travis Kelce because he's still just outside that limit. He's or actually even more so outside the limit this week. He's the tight end 28 overall. And it's Travis Kelce. There's absolutely no way that it's going to happen for a third week in a row, right? Dallas Goedert got 6.8 PPR against the Falcons last night. So surely Kelce can hit a pay dirt against them this week, I hope. Right. So I'm going to keep using Kelce until I can't. He's got to have a good game in him eventually. Benching Mike Gesicki. So currently he's the tight end 5 on the season. He is now the new main target for the hapless Joe Burrow that can no longer throw it accurately down the field or mid-level down the sideline. The tight end, the running backs, and anyone crossing over the middle is what Burrow does best from now on with that wrist injury. But the problem here is that the middle is like the only aspect of that Commander's defense that's actually good, especially against tight ends. Burrow's smart enough to not attack where they're strong at. He's going to attack their weaknesses. So that means he's going to have to avoid Gesicki a little bit more. So he won't be attacking the linebackers. It's going to be more of those bubble screens. It's going to be more rushing. We're going to see more rushing attack in this week for the Bengals. Maybe a little trickery, I don't know, but definitely I'm going to avoid Gesicki for this week. I think that it's not going to be a one-off. Gesicki's going to have some big games, but it's going to be a matchup base. I don't think we're going to worry about Nate's just because he's not here to read it. And Mark, I'll let you go ahead and jump into yours.
Yeah, so this is a perfect time to jump right into my quarterback after you just listen to Justin talk about how hapless Joe Burrow is and how he can't throw to the receivers and blah, 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 blah. My starting quarterback this week is Joe Burrow. He's number 19. He took the Bengals into Kansas City, and he beat the defending champs. Oh, wait. No, he didn't, because the refs decided to throw a bullshit, excuse my language, but a BS penalty flag on the last play of the game that handed them the victory. Joe Burrow, he threw for 258 yards and 2 touchdowns. Probably could have been for a little more. They had a couple costly red zone mistakes in that game. I'm telling you, he's safe to put back in your lineup going forward. In my opinion, on top of that, he's going against the commies this week. And if there's not a game to go light up the scoreboard and get your first win of the season, this one's it. Quarterback I'm benching, I'm going on the opposite side of that game. I'm going with Jaden Daniels. He's the number 9 quarterback on the season right now. He has yet to throw an offensive touchdown pass in 2 games. 2 rushing touchdowns in the first game, in a game that was, let's face it, out of hand when he scored those 2 touchdowns, were the only thing that saved his scoring grace in week 1. I'm just going to say, if you can't score on the New York Giants, I don't know what we're looking forward to him going forward. I'm benching him. Running backs, number 45, Zamir White. Last chance, buddy. Panthers, that's all I got to say. Your last chance, buddy, and I'm off.
And Madison's still going to outscore him.
Like I said, last chance. Benching, finally I get a chance to cheat. I'm benching Pacheco, number 16 running back, because he's out the next 6 weeks. But since I'm cheating, I'll add a little extra, and I'm going to say I'm not starting any of the Chiefs running backs. I kind of alluded a little bit to it when I asked you the question earlier, what you were thinking they were going to do with their running backs. I think it's going to be a mess. I don't think you're going to be able to count on any one of those guys to get the kind of work Pacheco is getting, so I'm just staying away completely.
But fire up that Rashee Rice, man. Yeah,
For sure.
Yeah. Unbelievable. They're gonna mix him into the run game as well.
Wide receivers. I was gonna have Amon-Ra St. Brown just like you. I thought when I looked he was 25 overall, but still it qualified anyways. But with him being questionable this week, I didn't want to throw him in there as a start. So I went with Garrett Wilson at 34. I think he's too talented for Aaron not to get him the ball. And they play the Patriots this week, so it should be a nice get-right game for them, just like it was for DK last week. Yeah, Rich, it was the Patriots that DK did that against. Not a good football team. All right, and benching, I'm benching Alec Pierce one more week. But I'm telling you right now, if he has another big game, he might be a permanent flex for me going forward. The targets did increase this past week, which has me watching to see what happens here going forward. But ultimately, I feel like this is the script we usually have. You have a guy who has 2 weeks like this. You're finally ready to trust him. You throw him in the lineup, and he falls flat on his face. And I think that's what's going to happen this week. I think Pittman's finally going to have his big game. But I do got my eye on you, Alec. I got my eye on you.
One thing I'll say about that is Anthony Richardson told us all offseason that he really loves Alec Pierce. And he said that Alec Pierce was kind of a drifter that's kind of like, kind of a behind-the-scenes guy that you don't think about as a main guy on this offense anymore. And he said, I'm here to tell you that part of why I'm here is to stop that from happening. And I just thought, that's just a quarterback sticking up for his wide receiver. That's just a teammate being a good teammate, and that sort of stuff. But after 2 weeks, he really loves Alec Pierce. I think that his love for Pierce is part of the reason why we're seeing Pittman falter a little bit.
Yeah. And that's why I'm paying close attention this week, because the first week it was 3 catches, right? He had the 1 bomb touchdown, but it was only 3 targets, 3 catches. Last week he had 7 targets and 5 catches. So, I mean, I don't know. We'll see. Tight ends, I'm telling you right now, I didn't look at your sheet when I was preparing mine, but we have the exact same things. I'm starting Travis Kelce, who's tight end 5,769 right now on the season. Jesus Christ. Does he need a game or what? And I think it's the perfect time for him to do so, because they just lost Pacheco, like we just talked about, their top running back, and they're going to need some extra help on offense. And I think Kelce steps up here, or at least we can hope, because everybody who owns him paid quite a premium, and we're not getting anything for it. I'm benching Gesicki. I just don't think he's one of those tight ends you're going to see that has consistent performances. I'm expecting him to be up and down all season, never knowing what you're going to get from him. I think Burrow's going to spread the ball out a little bit more this game. So I expect more out of what you saw him the first week, around 3 or 4 points instead of the 14, 15 he got last week. That's all mine.
Couple comments here from Rich. He says, bet you won't be saying that on Metcalf again, meaning like next week. But then he follows that up with, I will keep calling you out on Metcalf this year. And if there's one thing that we know about Rich, even if he's wrong, he's still going to keep calling you out on Metcalf.
So I think he's right. I won't be saying Metcalf had a good week again like last week, because he's not going to.
All right. The Mummies to my division. So I'm finally going to get my hero here. Enough stalling. Let's get my hero here. So, but I'm going in order. So first is the Hounds of Bakersville. That's actually my son, Peyton. He has Baker Mayfield on his team, Hounds of Bakersville. So,
all right, this is also my division, so I have to root against you guys. Let's go 24, 26 pointers, whatever it is.
There you go. $31 points for Sir John Talbot from the Wolfman. So one of the OG heroes. That's a black and white hero right there from the black and white movie days. So he gets Sir John Talbot as his hero. Who's next on the list?
Gary Daytona.
Gary DePriel. Yeah. So we got to see him again at Canton, second year in a row. So the Massillon Maulers, he's from Massillon, Ohio, up there right by Canton. Here's your hero, Gary. You get Frank Wimple from The Mummy, another OG, another old-time hero from the movie The Mummy, 30-pointer.
30 points.
And now it's me, right?
Now it's you.
The moment that I've been waiting for. Been working hard for 2 weeks, losing on purpose to get this. It better be a good one. Oh, come on, click again. All right, at least it's 31. Brianna Cartwright from Candyman. All right, Candyman. Oh, shoot, I just said it twice. I better not say it again. 31 points, Brianna Cartwright for myself.
All right, now
I was really hoping to get one of the former champions, but
now next is David, which I really need a low score because I'm playing him next week. So nothing big. All wins.
David Genesis. That's from Genesis Card Breaks. That's at Genesis_fantasy.
Get going.
29 points for Elizabeth Lavenza from Frankenstein. So again, another OG. These original ones are hitting hard right now in this division. I love it. All right, 29 points for you, David. All right, very good. So next is keep him and quit him. I realized this week when I was doing the show notes that I had forgotten how I wanted to do it last week, and we did it wrong. This is supposed to be a quick one-hitter, okay? So, like, I'm going to say the name, and then you're either going to say, I'm keeping him, as in, I'm going to hold on to him. I'm not scared. All you got to do is say, I'm keeping him. Or you say, I'm quitting him. And now if you say you're quitting them, then you either have to say you're trying to trade them or you're just dropping them. Does that make sense? So keep them or quit them. And if it's quit them, it's trade or drop. All right. So here we go. Mark Andrews.
Keeping him.
Dalton Kincaid.
Keeping him.
Evan Ingram.
Keeping him.
T. Higgins.
Keeping him.
Drop his. Mike Williams.
Quitting him. I'm just flat out done. Like, cut. No, thank
Drop.
you.
Gotcha. Yeah. Any of the Packers wide receivers?
Any Packers receivers? I think you got to keep them, especially with Love coming back eventually. They didn't put him on IR.
Okay, so not even looking to potentially trade. Well, I guess now would be a bad time to trade because
That would be a
their value
horrible
would be
time
low.
to trade. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Any of the Bears' top 3 wide receivers right now?
I think you have to keep them because you have no value right now. I mean, maybe you could get something for DJ Moore, but nobody's particularly thrilled with the Bears offense right now. So they're not cut worthy. So
The top 2 Titans receivers, Ridley and Hopkins.
Ridley, I'm keeping. Hopkins, I mean, cut him, I guess.
Yeah.
Sucks to say.
Hate to see it. Yeah. Christian Kirk.
Keep him.
Terry McLaurin.
Keep him. You're not getting anything for him.
It's okay. It's okay. You're not gonna offend George too much. You can say cut him. Jonathan Taylor.
Keep him. Yeah.
Devin Singletary.
Trade him if you can get anything for it, but you probably got to keep him just because he's a starting running back. But if I
did
can
have
get
one halfway decent game, so yeah, now might be the time. And actually, let me go back. That Jonathan Taylor, I would try to trade him if I'm a Jonathan Taylor owner, but I'm not. So Chase Brown and Zach Moss. Either of those.
Well, you just stopped your one-word game because I need to go on a rant here because this is ridiculous that Zach Moss is still out there getting carries. Chase Brown.
Well, while you're doing that, I'm going to grab a drink. I'll be right back.
Right, you do that. Chase Brown, every time he touches the ball, he looks electric. Zach Moss is just stumbling across the field with a crutch. Last week, Zach Moss had 12 carries for 34 yards. Chase Brown did that it was either 3 or 4. Chase Brown was averaging 7.8 yards a carry. Chase Brown was averaging 2.7. Why are they continuously slowing their offense down and stalling drives by throwing Zach Moss out there? Let the young kid eat. All right, Justin.
All right. All right, there you go. Well, you can see the list. You can just keep going.
Okay, so Zeke or the other Dallas running backs, again, starting running back. I'm keeping all starting running backs unless I can trade. Like, if I could get something for Elliott, I'm trading. Same with Najee. If I can get something, I'm trading. Otherwise, I got to keep them. Justice Hill, I think, falls in that category. You got to keep them. DeAndre Swift, yeah, I think you're stuck with him. Zamir White, last chance, buddy. I said it earlier, last chance. Mostert's fine. He's just hurt. That's all. Gus Edwards, I think you have to keep just because of J.K. Dobbins' injury history. Javonte Williams, I cut before the season even started. Get him out of here.
I'm back. I can go ahead.
No, you can take it. Is Mahomes really on this list?
Yeah, Pat Mahomes. So the reason I put that is he's currently sitting outside the top 12, and he's not had great games, but they're still finding ways to win. So, like how – I don't know. I know part of that was from Pacheco, so I kind of forgot to take him off the list from last week. I was looking more at the fantasy points than I was the future. But also, like, he's still a big hot name, a big commodity. It's Pat Mahomes. Maybe you could get something solid and decent out of him without the frustrations of constantly getting that 12 to 15 range fantasy points from him each week. But that's why I had Mahomes on there. But I get it. No, you're probably not going to get rid of him. Same with Dak Prescott, kind of just one of those panic things. It's why I have these players on there. But now I'm definitely interested to hear Matthew Stafford from you.
Well, this hurts my soul, but yeah, I'm getting rid of him. We have no offensive line to protect him, and he has nobody to throw the ball to right now. So until at least week 6 or 8, probably 8 or later, when Puka and Kupp start to come back, then you can look at them from a streaming standpoint. But right now, I mean, you got to have a better starting quarterback out there you can find.
Then your second favorite quarterback, Jared Goff.
This is a weird one because, like, Goff had a really good year last year, and his schedule looked pretty good this season, and he's already starting off pretty slow. But I'm gonna hold on and assume they right the ship because teams are gonna start shutting that run down, and they're gonna have to throw the ball. And I just think they're too good of a team to not get something out of them. So I'm
All right, let's
holding.
get back to these one-word answers. Trevor Lawrence.
I don't hold, I guess. I don't know.
Aaron Rodgers.
I don't drop unless you're in a
Brock
super
Purdy.
flex. Hold.
Very good. All right. The invisible urinal is up. We have the invisible urinal division. Real quick, some comments here. Yes, heroes are for losers. That's definitely the idea there. So thanks for that, Steve. You cursed David, he says. So good on you. Yep. Yeah, that's a lot of players, and you're keeping a lot of them. So Steve wants to know how big your roster is.
It's a dynasty. That's my whole team.
And then Dowdle. Did I miss the Dowdle comment? Because I think I put all.
It was Zeke or all Cowboys running backs. I just said I'm keeping them unless you can get something for them.
Okay. All right. Very good. Let's see. So the invisible urinal, we've got Darnold all to hell. That is Chris Fox at Chris Fox Sports. And Chris Fox gets this hero. He gets 28-pointer, The Queen from Rumpelstiltskin. Rumpelstiltskin, by the way, is a monster card as well in Frankenstank that has caused a little bit of a ripple here today. It was played on a couple of different people, and it was lost by one and hit by another. So fortunately for me, the one that it was lost was Gary DePrill, who I face next week. So I don't have to worry about the rumple anymore. I was stressing about it. Sorry, Gary, but I'm kind of happy that you lost it. Yeah, so the Queen from Rumpelstiltskin, 28 points for our man Chris Fox. Next, we have Justin Toe, longtime Patreon supporter, Vlad the Impaler, always a constant competitor in Frank, usually does extremely well. We're hoping for a good hero for Mr. Toe here.
I want to know if Iceman's going to get picked.
I hope so. All right, 29 points. Tori Redding from The Leprechaun. Tori Redding from The Leprechaun. I'm pretty sure that is the Jennifer Aniston character on The Leprechaun. So he gets Tori Redding 29 points. Leprechaun, one of my all-time favorite movies growing up. That's why the Leprechaun himself is also a monster in the Frankenstank. Let's see. And then, unfortunately, St. Patty's Day Massacre does not qualify for a hero because he had an illegal lineup in week 2. He said that he tried to set his lineup in MFL and it didn't set. But I mean, he had a couple other days to go back and double check, and he never did. And so, unfortunately, if you have an illegal lineup in week 1, we don't consider that disqualified for a hero because there's a lot of different things that could take effect for week 1. And also, some people are still trying to play for a win in week 1 and just happen to get a loss. But we can't have people just completely not setting an approved lineup in week 2 just to dive for the hero. And I know that that's not what he did. I'm not saying that that's what you did at all, Andrew. And but because of the fact that people might, we had to have that rule. The rule's in place, unfortunately. So yeah, he does not get a hero card. We're not doing the hot waiver ads this week because of the time, because of the monster cards here. So I do want to direct you to our Patreon, patreon.com/toylistedtitles. If you are a $4.99 a month Patreon supporter or higher, you get the waiver wire episode every single week. Usually it's immediately right after the Monday Night Football game. This week, that's what happened. We got it out to you, posted and submitted by 2 a.m. after the Monday Night Football game. So we do have a lot of our hot wire waiver wire picks there, but also you can hit us up on that Discord again at JustinFF_ or at Toyless of Titles. Tell me that you want to get in on the Discord, or you can email us toylessoftitles@gmail.com, and I'll send you the link to get in on our Discord, and you can ask those waiver wire questions in there as well. So this week, weekly streams. So this is a player that we love the matchup for that is currently rostered in less than 60% of leagues. But you don't necessarily think that you're going to keep them for the rest of the season sort of guy, but definitely want to get them for this week. I went with Derek Carr. Because why not at this point, right? Like he's currently the QB2 in 6 points per touchdown leagues, 6 points per touchdown pass leagues. And he's only done it against the Cowboys and a divisional opponent. So I know it's the Panthers and I know they suck, but it's still a divisional game. And then the Cowboys. So like it was also a good opponent in there too. And now he gets the Eagles. And the Saints are playing hot right now, and the Eagles are not playing hot right now. So Cousins finished with 241 yards and 2 touchdowns against the Eagles. And then Kamara here is absolutely on fire. You can dump the ball off to him, and he'll run it for a 40-yard touchdown. Carr still gets those points, right? So, and also having Kamara there to help move the ball sets you up into scoring position more. You have better time of possession. So if Kamara's on fire, keep feeding him the rock, and that's going to help Carr continue to grow. Carr's only rostered in 9.9% of leagues right now. I think that's going to skyrocket after this Cowboys match. Nate is giving you Tyler Johnson for the Rams. He said that depleted Rams receiving core goes up against the 10th worst passing defense this weekend. He says, I think Robinson is my target for the long term, but I feel like a solid Tyler Johnson week, and he's only rostered in 12% of leagues. So, Mark, I can't believe you went with this one. I almost want to just kick you from the stream right now, but whatever. Talk about your man.
I don't understand the rules to this segment because Derek Carr is only 9% owned in leagues. Like that's nuts to me. But I guess we just all play in different types of leagues. But so I went with Deshaun Watson. I know. Sorry, but based on the rules, I couldn't start Amari Cooper. So I'm going with the guy who's throwing him the ball. They're playing the Giants. It's like I think it's a no-brainer. But to make you happy, also part of the qualification is I don't want him for the rest of the season, just this week, right? So one and done.
Yeah, well, I hope he's one and done. All right, so speaking of one and done, we have our one and done eliminator game. So last week, I did not do so hot. I did great in week one. I got off to a lead, but now I think I'm not even anywhere close to a lead. I went with Jared Goff against Tampa Bay. I was thinking, at home, he always plays well at home, but he hasn't the first 2 games so far this year. So I don't know, but he only got 8.78 for me. Jonathan Taylor, I thought for sure was going to get a touchdown. I thought for sure the Colts with Shane Steichen. I don't know how many coaches we have to have come in here that finally decide to give Jonathan Taylor the rock. But anyway, Jonathan Taylor did not get the rock like I anticipated, and they didn't get in scoring position because of it. He still had a serviceable 15.5 PPR points, but not anywhere near what I thought he would get. I am the one that cast the curse on your Cooper Kupp. I started him against Arizona. Yeah, it's my fault. It's a down week, so they all had to be down. The only way they can keep Kupp down is to hurt him. 7.7. And then Dallas Goedert against Atlanta, 6.8. I had a total of 38.78 in week 2, bringing me to a grand total on the season so far of 122.44. I'm behind you. So you are currently beating me by almost 7 points. Who did you have?
So who I had was Lamar Jackson against the Raiders. He sucks, but I'll take his 18 points, whatever. J.K. Dobbins versus Carolina, 20 points. I mean, that was obvious. Carolina. CeeDee Lamb versus New Orleans. He had 19. I was expecting a little more there, but I'll take it. And George Kittle finally got something good out of a tight end, 20.6 against Minnesota for a grand total of 78.08 points.
Yeah, and that brings you to a grand total of 129.26. I did not finish Nate's because I see you obviously didn't get my question here in time.
Wow.
He had Antonio Brown as his wide receiver. So does
A.J.
this mean he just automatically, or yeah, AJ Brown, sorry. Yeah, well, I mean, same thing. They got the same amount of points this week. So he had AJ Brown. And so does that mean he just automatically gets Devonta Smith now?
I mean, I'm fine with giving him Devontae Smith, but come on, Nate, don't be lazy. Like, he could have had a qualifier like I did, or how hard would it have been to send us a little text message that I'm switching to this guy?
Well, to be fair, why would he know that he needs a qualifier when the injury happened on the Friday and we record on Tuesday? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a fair point. But
and also, like, I'm honestly not going to look at these leading up to kickoff to see if my guy plays or not. So I like your rule of let's just throw the backup in there if they've not been used. If the backup's been used, then we just get 0 points. How about that?
But what if a team has 3 good receivers?
Then we'll give them the third.
Okay.
But eventually the backup's gone, right? All right, we'll figure that out. But anyway, he did get 15 points for Justin Herbert. All right. He did get 15 points for Justin Herbert, who underperformed against Carolina, but also didn't really need to perform against Carolina. Josh Jacobs got him 13.1 against the Colts. I really thought that would be more like 131. Devonta Smith obviously had a great game. I didn't put that in the doc because I didn't know for sure if we were doing that. And then Mike Gesicki, good call on you, Nate. Good job on that. 16.1 for Mike Gesicki. So I still think that Nate is going to be firmly right there with us. So I think all three of us are going to be pretty close in points after week 2. So yeah, I tanked a little bit this week just to help even it up. That's what it was. The Brasco is the last division that we're giving away the heroes to. That is the Brasco of Bagul.
Are we going to give our this week's players or no?
Oh, I thought I did that.
No.
Oh, no, I didn't. All right.
Yeah.
Very good. Very good. All right. So for this week, I have Joe Burrow against Washington.
You're not allowed to use Joe Burrow ever. Not allowed.
I can because of this format, because of the fact that I have to use him at some point, because I do still think that he finishes in the top 17, and we're going 17 weeks with this. So I think he's going to finish in the top 17 at least. So at some point I got to use him. So if I have to use him, just like you said, if he's going to score points, it has to be this week, right? And so when it doesn't happen this week, hopefully maybe you'll listen to me. But then I went with Jordan Mason for my running back because he's going up against your depleted Rams. They're going to have the lead. They're going to be running the rock to run the clock out. And then I've used Jordan Mason before CMC gets back. And then we've got Garrett Wilson just because I'm trying to find a spot to use Garrett Wilson because the talent's there and he's going against New England. Seems like a great matchup. Brock Bowers, I think this one's dumb of me now that I think more about it. I don't and that's just because it's Carolina. If the Raiders are able to play as well as they did this past week against the Ravens, if they are a better team than we anticipated because they now actually have a somewhat okay, serviceable quarterback, but maybe they don't need to throw the ball a heck of a lot. So maybe going the running back route would have been smarter here, but it's fine. So I'm going Brock Bowers. And we'll see what happens. Nate is going with Gardner Minshew, that quarterback I just mentioned, against Carolina. He's got Travis Etienne going up against Buffalo. Amari Cooper versus the Giants, and then George Kittle. He's got to get him some Kittle against the Rams. So who do you got for week 3?
So quarterback, I'm going Baker Mayfield against Denver. He's the number 1 quarterback in fantasy right now, and going against a crappy team like Denver, I think he should put up some more points. Running back, I'm going with a new strategy here. I'm just like, whoever's playing Carolina, I'm taking their running back. So it's Zamir White this week. Last chance, buddy. Wide receiver, I'm going with Chris Olave. I think Philly's secondary can be beat. I think we've seen that the first 2 weeks, and I think it's more over like the middle of the field and stuff, not necessarily the deep bombs that we've seen Rashid hitting a lot. So I'm going Olave this week. And Kansas City right now is the worst team in the NFL against the tight end. So I'm going with Kyle Pitts as my tight end.
All right, very good. I'm going to hit the comments here before we give away these last sets of heroes here. But we've got Shane. I think Shane was talking about the Rumpelstiltskin card was also lost in the Frankenstank division as well. The original, the number 1 division there, the Frankenstank division. So must have been lost there too, which is a relief to those of us that commission these divisions, because that Rumble card stinks, because we have to try to keep, because it's not something that we can just go back and post or see on the post because it's played in secret. So we got to try to keep track of all those secretive cards on top of all the cards that are actually being posted. And that can get confusing sometimes, especially with a confusing card like the Rumpelstiltskin. Rich says that just going to say Metcalf was number 2 wide receiver in week 2. He's always a big number 2. All right. And then he says, go Raiders. Speaking of number 2s. And then George says, thanks for the awesome hero. He also says, run on Carolina, don't pass. And that's kind of what I was thinking when I said that maybe this was a bad pick. I just looked it up after you said that, and I see the reason why I chose them. And right now, Carolina is the second worst team in the league against tight ends. So they probably aren't throwing very much against them, but what little they do, they're effective. And plus, also, yeah, sure, run on them. I don't care if Brock Bowers gets some carries as well. And then Rich says, right, George, White going to have a huge day. All right. We'll see.
I hope so, Rich.
I still
Last
think
chance,
Madison's the better option. All right. The Brasco of Bagul. Let's do this thing. This is the last division that's going to get some heroes here.
Let's go, Iceman.
The first up is Graboid, who is also a former champion. So we could spin for Fantasy Spin to get himself. How cool would that be?
That would be pretty
he could get. It would be pretty awesome to have yourself on your own fantasy football roster and be getting 35 points for yourself every single week. So that I hope it happens. I really do.
Don't let us down now, Justin.
Yeah, I guess that's true. I've built it up too much now. I mean, he still gets a fun one. Dr. Sam Loomis from Halloween. I mean, yeah, that dude was something else. He's one of the few people that could actually hold down Mike Myers. So that's nice. 33 for okay. Dr. Sam Loomis. All right, who's next?
Slenderman, D. Whitmer.
Slenderman, D. Whitmer. Oh, and Fantasy Spin, that's at Fantasy Spin on Twitter as well. D. Whitmer, I didn't have his Twitter handle. I couldn't find it while I was getting the show notes together. But Slenderman gets Abraham Van Helsing from Dracula. That's a 31-pointer, so that's a decent one as well. So there's 2 decent cards already for this division. Carla Falcor, that is at Boxing Edgar. Carla has been in Frank, I believe, since season 2. So she's a longtime Frank player here. Let me, here we go. Let's see who Carla gets. Falcor is going to be rolling with one of Coach's all-time favorites from the movie Signs, Graham Hess. That is, what's his name? The dude from Lethal Weapon, Mel Gibson. That's Mel Gibson, Graham Hess, and Signs, a 32-pointer. So there you go. And who's the next one?
Football diehards, Bob Harris.
Is this the last one?
It's the last one.
Oh, man, we didn't get all of our heroes taken. I was hoping all of our former champs would get taken. Hopefully we get one in here. But, yeah, Bob Harris from the football diehards. You guys all know who Bob Harris is. If you've played fantasy football very long at all, you know Bob Harris. We appreciate him coming in and playing in Frank every year. And he gets one of the original black and white to converted to color movies. Night of the Living Dead, Ben from Night of the Living Dead. So Bob Harris, you get 26 points every single week for Ben from the Night of the Living Dead. All right. That's it for the heroes. Now watch our views drop drastically because everybody got to see what they wanted to see.
Well, I mean, this next segment they would stick around for if I could get a little help from you and Nate, now wouldn't they?
All right, I tried to tell you right out the gate that I am not a gambling man when it comes to these individual prop bets. I'm just a fantasy football guy. So I warned you.
It's just a touchdown. They score touchdowns in fantasy.
Yeah,
just
but
pretend you're not betting on it.
Touchdowns are not a sticky stat for most players in fantasy football, so it's not a stat that I really typically care too much about. But we try. I tried again. I just keep getting to the point where I'm getting the more and more obvious that I can't. I don't even care if it really hurts your odds. But this is the TD parlay that he's talking about.
Three-way parlay, anyways. The odds aren't going to be bad enough to ruin it.
All right, well, go ahead with it.
I'm looking at our picks here, and I like our chances this week. For the first touchdown, I'm going with Jerome Ford against the Giants. I think it's given that he scores a touchdown this week.
I already alluded mine earlier with Jordan Mason, talking about how they're going to be up early. They're going to run the football a lot. Plus, they're going up against your Rams. So if I have an opportunity to both hurt your Rams and make you excited about the Rams having a touchdown scored against them at the same time, I'm all for that. So I went with Jordan Mason, and Nate went with the guy that scores a.
That's very rude. That's very rude. Everything you just said there.
Yeah. But if it wins you money, you're not going to be too upset. No. Nate went with the guy that scores touchdowns all the time, and Mike Evans. So I got a good feeling. I have a good feeling about this.
I do.
This one's going to hit.
I have Baker as my quarterback, so I like the odds of Mike scoring a touchdown. I mean, Jordan Mason should score against us, as much as that hurts me to say. And Ford's against the Giants. Come on. We're good. We got this one.
All right. And then lastly, of course, we got to plug it again. It's patreon.com/toilisttitles. We've got, like I said, we've got a tier for every budget. At the $2.99 a month level, you're going to be able to get in on our Discord chat that's driven by the Patreon. We have a channel that's just for Patreon supporters, and the lowest level gets you in there. So in that chat, you can give suggestions for show segments. You can ask us about things that you want us to talk about on the show. You can ask us questions in there about your fantasy lineups, whatever you want in that chat. At the $4.99 level, you get early access to that waiver wire episode that I talked about earlier, which is really nice. At $9.99, you get a free entry into the Frankenstank Listener League, which is a nice little perk as well. That's the league that we've been talking all this crazy nonsense about. If you're new to it, you want in on it. $14.99 is the one-on-one roster analysis. That's a 30-minute episode where we break down your league's draft. So we did do this once before. We have plenty of like Patreon supporters in that range, but only one of them has ever actually asked us to do an episode. Coach and I did it, and it actually took us, it was closer to about an hour and a half. It's supposed to be 30 minutes, but we were having a lot of fun with it. So if you're at that $14.99 level or higher and you want us to do a one-on-one roster breakdown of your league, shoot us an email, let us know, and we'll get that set up. $24.99 is there's like, because we give giveaways at all these different levels from time to time, but if you're at the $24.99 level, then you get additional giveaway entries for those giveaways, and you also get the free entry into a bunch of our other T2T leagues that we do that mostly our man Wicked Dylan does for us. He does several leagues for us over at T2T, so you're going to get in for free or at least at a discounted rate for a lot of those leagues as well. That's the patreon.com/toilisttitles. Rich says not Madison just because I keep saying that I think Madison's going to – I don't think Madison outscores White this week. I was mostly just being facetious. But I do think that by the end of the season, I still believe it. And so far, I think I've been right. I think for the most part, Madison's still kind of up on him on the season because they both really stink. So that's like, which end is the clean end of the turd? But it is what it is. I think Madison is still right there with them. They both kind of stink. White gets a touchdown. That will help. There you go. He's saying to help your odds if you throw White in there. That's the guarantee.
There's a reason it'll help our odds. Let us win one first, Rich.
Madison will outscore White this week for reals. I mean, sure. I mean, like I said, I've been saying Madison every single week, and I mean, it is what I'm going to continue to stick with Madison. But I don't know if there is a week that White might actually do it. Maybe it's this week, just because it is the Panthers. But all right, I think that's it, man. Mark, do you have anything else for the kids?
No, we made it.
There are a ton of injuries, so I do want to mention, come back Friday night. George and I do our That Guy is Fragile episode, our weekly injury update episode. And we're going to be updating on all of those injuries that we talked about earlier and so much more. That's going to be a long show, but we'll kind of give you an insight on who you should play if guys are going to be out and that sort of stuff as well. And then the Sunday morning start sit show, whenever you find out for sure about those players, you're going to need to know who to start. The guys will be around on Sunday morning. I might be there. Mark might be there, but Jason and George will definitely be there. Maybe we get to see Rich again. Maybe we're fortunate enough to see David Genesis again. He's been there both weeks. But anyway, we're all there to help you guys set your lineups, just like in our Discord chat. Let's see. And then other episodes, Dynasty episode, that comes out every week. We got a gambling episode from Iceman. So a lot of episodes out there. Just make sure you hit that notification, that bell there, so that you get that notification every time. We greatly appreciate y'all for tuning in, and that's a wrap.
Out there with great food, you chose toilets and titles. We get fantasy football advice to get your crap team to the finals. From Nick Cousin Eddie persona and his unapologetic